Hello everybody, Roger here again. It's the beginning of our thimbleberry picking season. It's just begun. So I'm over here in Port McNeill today and I'm out on one of our berry picking spots picking thimbleberries. I got a couple buckets with me because it's the end of the salmonberry season, so I don't want to miss out on getting some salmon berries because it's going to be the last time picking them. And it's just the beginning of thimbleberry season, so most of them are unripe. So yeah, let's go picking some thimbleberries. Let's get at her. So I want to first start things off by updating you all on our goose, Guggen here. He's starting to get all his feathers. And you can see he's got a gimped wing. Doesn't seem to bother him though. But he's getting big. So Guggen's a little too young yet to be on his own outside, so we make his bed in the bathtub and I just clean it out every day. Now these are thimbleberries, Rubus parvifolus, and if you were to look at the bunches here, as they start to ripen, because this is the beginning of the thimbleberry season, but if you look at these bunches, they all form these little bunches here, and the first berry to always ripen is the one in the middle. So the middle berry is what ripens first, and then it kind of ripens from the inside out towards the outer berries. Now the reason they call it a thimbleberry is because it's this very delicate berry, but you pick it off and it kind of looks like a thimble. Now I'm just gonna taste a thimbleberry here just to describe it to you. This one's a nice red berry. It's a very delicate berry and it's got its own unique flavor. It's kind of hard to describe. You'll have to try it. I'm not very good at describing these. It's sweet. It's got a neat fuzzy after texture when you crush the berry and a bit of tartness to it. But it's its own unique flavor and it's called a thimbleberry. Now, thimbleberries make a really great jelly, and you could get quite a few of them in a season when you're in a good patch. The thing about them, when they ripen, they could fall right off the bush, so as you're picking, oftentimes the thimbleberries will fall off and you'll lose quite a few of them. So it is middle of July. Thimbleberry season has just begun. July is usually when the thimbleberries are ripe, up to the beginning of August. So we have a little bit of a few weeks to pick them. And they ripen every few days. And I'm over here in our spot over in Port McNeill. We've got a few good spots over here where we pick these berries. And then we freeze them and make them into a jelly. It's one of our popular ones, is thimbleberry jelly. Another interesting thing about thimbleberries is later in the summer when there's lots of berries and they're starting to go bad on the bush, you'll see wasps eating or drinking the juice from the berries, and they actually kind of get drunk. They do get drunk from drinking the berries, and they'll fall off, and it's usually the later stages in the wasp's life cycle. They'll go and drink themselves to death from the fermenting berries. The other thing to note about thimbleberries is you got to pick them when you see them, because if they're left on the bush and they get just a little bit of moisture, you can see here the berry gets moldy, and I would just throw those away so it doesn't infect the next berry over that is just ripening. I was just picking some thimbleberries here and I moved a leaf, and take a look at this really big cool snail. For comparison, it's about the size of my thumbnail. Neat. Now, unfortunately, this is one of our real good berry picking spots for thimbleberries over here in Port McNeill. However, most people don't see it as a valuable food source. They just see it as some sort of a nuisance weed that grows in the way. And this was one of our primary berry picking spots, but sometime, probably early spring, whoever came in here, a contractor of some sort, and it looks like they trimmed down, probably weed whacked the thimbleberry down to nothing. And these are just new shoots that are coming up. So unfortunately, this really great berry picking spot that we've been picking most of our thimbleberries from the past few years is no longer a good picking spot for at least, I'd say, maybe 2 or 3 years. Maybe next year there might be a few in here, but it's going to take a few years for it to get reestablished again. So we got to go hunting for a new thimbleberry spot. Otherwise, we're not going to have that many thimbleberries this year. And this here is a prime example of paving paradise to put up a parking lot, quite literally, because all through here last year were prime berry picking bushes, and they literally put in a parking lot here. And all down this road where we used to pick is now just nothing. And this is our ferry, BC Ferries Island Aurora, that connects Port McNeill, where I am right now, to the town of Sointala, which is over there on Malcolm Island. Over there is Haddington Island, or Kivisari in Finnish. And way, way off in the distance down there is the town of Alert Bay on Cormorant Island. I'm just at one of our other berry picking spots, and it looks like these bushes are untouched here, so that's good. So hopefully we'll get a few in this spot this season. And as you can see here down on the ground, there's all these berries that have fallen off the bushes. Thimbleberries are very delicate and fall off the bushes pretty easily. And I usually just leave those ones for the birds. Also, when you're picking thimbleberries, you gotta fan up the leaves like this, because hidden in the bushes are the nice juicy berries. Now, I wasn't intending to pick salmon berries, but it is the end of the season, and as you can see here, there are some nice big juicy ripe ones here, so I might as well pick them because that's all I'm gonna get for the rest of the season. Now, oftentimes when you see me out picking, I'll have a couple different berry buckets with me. That's because if I see more than one type of berry to pick, the other bucket is for different berries. So later in the season when I'm picking blackberries, the thimbleberries are still ripe, so I'll be picking thimbleberries and blackberries at the same time. Today it's the beginning of the thimbleberry season and the end of salmonberry season. So you're going to see me with two buckets here. And one is for salmonberries, the other one's for thimbleberries. Here's a good example here of how a thimbleberry just hangs off the bush as it ripens. I'm just going to give it a little shake and you can see it just falls off. Hardly any of a shake. So it's really easy when you're picking thimbleberries to lose a bunch of berries to the ground from them falling off the bush. And as you can see here, The season has only just begun. Most of these berries are still unripe. It's the middle of July as I'm picking here right now. So I'll be coming back here and visiting this spot quite frequently throughout the summer as they ripen. Whenever I get a chance to come over to Port McNeill, I'll be picking here. And this here is red elderberry, Sambucus racemosa. And I have never made elderberry jelly yet. There is also one just like this called a black elderberry. And I've never found a spot where black elderberry thrives, so I've never made anything out of elderberry. I've heard various rumors that the red ones, they are edible, but the seeds are poisonous. My grandmother Toots, my mother's mother, used to make cackleberry juice, a fermented wine from the red elderberry. So I know you can do it. I just haven't made it yet because I'm still a little unsure myself when it comes to elderberry. Now, an important thing to take note of every time you're picking berries, especially over on Vancouver Island, is you need to wear long sleeves and pants, no shorts, because over on northern end of Vancouver Island and other places along BC, there are ticks, and you don't want to get any ticks on your body. No, I'm not getting a ton of thimbleberries, but I mean, if I came back here in a week, all these thimbleberries I'm picking today would either fall off the bush or start to rot, and it would infect the rest of the berries. But as you can see, they're already starting to turn red. So in another week, I'll come back and there'll be some more to pick. So as you can see, my hands get all sticky with the berry juice as I'm picking. And you don't want to drive away with that stuff on your hands because it'll get your steering wheel all sticky. So I always carry a package of wet wipes with me and just give your hands a quick wipe down. You can't get it all off here, but later on when you get home you can wash your hands more thoroughly, but you'll get the stickiness off, and do that before you drive away. Also, when you're over here on Vancouver Island picking berries, there are black bears on Vancouver Island and they like to eat berries. So this is a spot where there was a bear and it knocked some of the bushes down. So you'll see this, sometimes you'll see some trails in the woods where they've been walking through, but right here is where a bear knocked down these bushes. And speaking of which, there's our bear right there walking towards me in the distance. You can see there's a black bear walking down the path here towards where we were picking. But I'm done in this area, so I'm gonna leave that bear alone and he could continue doing his thing. Looks like he's still walking my way, looking for some berries. Black bears are pretty curious animals, so they'll come check you out. But they are bears, so they are pretty dangerous. So if they feel threatened by you, you don't want to be in between the berries and a bear. So I just want to quickly tell you guys a story about an encounter I had when I used to work in forestry in the interior of BC back in 2017. It was my first job in forestry, and I had an encounter with a grizzly bear. So I got used to the black bears running away from me in the forest. Every time they'd come up to you, they'd just be curious and check you out. But the grizzly bear, when I first encountered my very first grizzly bear, it wasn't scared of me at all. So this grizzly bear, it was, I was just having my lunch. I was following the boundary line and surveying it with a GPS. And I was just below this little dip in the road, and above me was the logging road. And I just finished lunch and I climbed back up to carry on doing my work, and walking towards me across the road was this huge grizzly bear. And I swear the thing was about the size, if you had like a crew cab truck, it would fit in the interior of that truck. It was that big. So it was a big bear, and it was heading right towards me. It probably smelled my lunch, who knows. But anyways, the whole encounter took about 5-10 minutes, and I pulled out my phone to get a picture of it, but I was actually recording it. So I'm going to show you the first little bit of the clip of me encountering this big old grizzly bear. And you only see the first few seconds of the clip. You're going to see the grizzly bear walking towards me, and it'll look off into the bush, and then it'll look at me. It'll look off in the bush, and then it'll look at me again, and then all of a sudden I drop the camera and I start screaming, and that's because the bear charged at me. So I'll just show you this little clip, and then we'll carry on with berry picking. Roar! Roar! Ah! Hurry up! Hurry! Get here now! Hurry up! Sometimes people throw out flower bulbs from their yards. This is a crocosma, so they usually take over in an area. But if I see bulbs like this, flower bulbs, I'll in some random spot out in the middle of nowhere where we're berry picking, I usually grab them, take them home, and I plant them along our hillside out at Rauhala on our beach campsite. And since I'm over here, I might as well pick some red huckleberry. So I always come prepared with my huckleberry picker every time we come to Port McNeill, just in case we come across a good patch of huckleberries, which just so happens I lucked out. You can hear all that noise. I'm along the Island Highway. So all the traffic going up north towards Port McNeill. Since I'm here, I'm going to pick some huckleberries. I'm lucking out and getting into a nice patch here of huckleberries, which is great because I only got one bucket this season from our own patch. So hopefully I'll get a few huckleberries this year. That's a nice haul of huckleberries. I got all these berries off of one bush. So pretty good. If you get a good spot and there's lots of berries, pick them, because I've been in here at this same spot last year and there was no berries, and this year there are some. So pick them when the picking's good. Also, when I'm out and about picking berries, I carry Ziploc bags with me. These are the ones, large Ziploc bags, and they usually hold about 4 cups. Or sorry, these ones hold 8 cups. These are the large, so it holds a whole bucket full of berries. And yeah, this is what I'll throw in the freezer then and make juice from. And it's a beautiful evening here, just before dark at Rauhala. Twilight, I guess you could call it. And I'm just going to take a walk down around McNeill Point, Rauhala on Callio, aka the Bluff, and take a look at what's left of the sunset. It's so nice and calm here tonight. And this is what it sounds like at Rauhala on Callio. The Place of Pieces Rock, also known as McNeill Point. One last look of the sunset here before I head back to the beach campsite. Now I should also mention that McNeill Point is named after a man named Rear Admiral Henry McNeill in 1906. Now I don't know anything else other than that about the guy, but that is who McNeill Point is named after. And walking around McNeill Point on my way back to my tent, the beach campsite. We have this beautiful view of Rauhwalti, the Bay of Peace. Alright, that's all I got to say for today. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you want to follow along my video series. And I'll see you all in the next video. Alright, ciao.